Well, hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us on Logistics Executive TV. Delighted to be with you today for the next episode of our journey through the chemical logistics industry. I'm joined today by a couple of very senior operators in the business, but of course, I've got my co-host, Jamil Siddique, who's the Director for Middle East and Asia for TALKE. Jamil, thanks for joining us and welcome back to, where are you? You're in Malaysia as well.
Hello there, everybody. Hello, Kim. Yeah, delighted to be here, but it was great. And I think it was really nice that you were able to see the site, meet some of the team, have a good walk around, and you can really understand and see what is, chemical logistics, really what is the science behind it. So I think it was great. And I think, as part of the series that and the evolution of this focus on chemical logistics, I'm really delighted to have my colleagues on this call here. And I want to introduce Yves Bekkers, who's our managing director. I always call him the grandfather because he's the grandfather, the father, and the son of everything we've done in Malaysia. So, anything that we did, he's the man who did it. And then we also have Mah Liza, who's our head of business development and sales. And she's been an integral part of our growth and development since she's been with us. So, I'm happy to stay quiet on this call and pass the baton on to Yves and Liza today.
Good stuff. Thanks, Jamil. And really do appreciate you hosting us here all of this week in sunny Kuala Lumpur. So, Yves, now you're in Europe, as I understand it, and look, it's great to have a chat with you. And I'd really be interested at a very high level to have a bit of a conversation with you about, what was the reason for TALKE coming to Malaysia? You're a German company, you're big around the Middle East, certainly I've seen your sites there. But in Malaysia, it's a bit of a hub for this part of the world. So maybe you can give us a bit of the history.
No. So good morning, good afternoon all. Welcome, Kim, in Malaysia. Glad that Jamil hosts you in the facility. Jamil, thanks for that wonderful introduction. Yeah, the grandfather or the godfather of Malaysia. So, Kim, coming back on why Malaysia. So, we were very successful in Dubai, where we have a similar setup. So we were looking also, okay, what can we do in other regions? So then in early 2018, beginning 2019, we saw the opportunity. We got an invitation. We went to Westports. I saw, okay, is there any opportunity? We build a similar facility in Malaysia. So we did quite an extensive feasibility study over there. After feasibility study 2021, that was a green light. So we said, okay, we're gonna enter in this region. Why that region? Because we saw, we saw that Westports is each year they're increasing their throughput. We saw that chemicals moving differently than before. We saw in Asia, if you see to China, if you see in Southeast Asia, that the trade flows there of chemicals, petrochemicals, is only increasing since the last few years. So yes, that's why we said, okay, we're going to do the similar thing as we did before, because we see great opportunities. We see that chemical producers, traders, distributors, they are looking for hub locations, transshipments, yeah. And that's particularly the reason why we said, okay, let's do this and let's explore in Southeast Asia, and with the aim of expanding also to other regions in Southeast Asia or in Asia, of course.
Sure. Well, that's great, and it's good to hear, the patterns that went on behind coming here. The port, Westport, I had no idea was so enormous. We must have driven about 4 or 5 kilometres and passed about 300 gantry cranes or ship-to-shore cranes going down that port. It is gargantuan.
Yeah, it is. It's Westport is of course known as the biggest linear port in the world. Of course, as you said, the stretch is a 6.5 kilometer linear berth, and in total they have about 75 ship-to-shore cranes for the moment. Currently, they are expanding. Also, they're expanding their capacity from 14 million TEUs max capacity to 16.5 million. What will be ready by 2027. Followed by another expansion. So their aim is, Westport's aim is to compete with the biggest ports in the world, going up to 28 million TEUs. So also, of course, Malaysia and especially Westports, yeah, they see also the expansion or the chemical flows or other flows, yeah, and see that Southeast Asia, especially Malaysia, for the future is absolutely the place to be.
Brilliant. No, it was very exciting being down there, and we've got some great footage and interviews with some of your folks from inside your operation. So we'll be sharing that with our audience soon. Lisa Mah, you are the head of sales and business development for this entire region for TALKE, and I had the great opportunity to have a chat with you at the Logisim conference. Now, I'd love to talk to you a little bit about Lisa, about the flows in the region, the type of industry clients that you serve, the type of sectors that are utilising the services, primarily warehousing services, I understand. Maybe you can talk a little bit about the profile of some of the industries that you work with.
Okay, hello, my name is Lisa. So I'm the head of business development at TALKE Malaysia. We specialize in chemical, dangerous goods, and the general cargo logistics, operating from our world-class facilities in Westport Free Zone. Yeah. Okay,
Yeah,
so Malaysia and Southeast Asia are seeing strong growth in chemicals and dangerous goods, with ASEAN chemical logistics expanding close to 10% annually. So Malaysia is positioning itself as a regional hub with our modern free zone facilities and investor-friendly policies with all those FTA, all right? So at TALKE, we stand right at the heart of this growth, providing world-class DG-ready warehousing in Westport to support safe, compliance, and efficient supply chain across this region.
Oh, brilliant.
So yeah, okay. At TALKE, our target markets cover specialty and petrochemicals, polymers, of course, plastics, some specialty chemicals and agrochemicals, pharma, especially our batteries and EV materials, plus general cargoes like FMCG, consumer goods, and industrial equipment. So we serve both dangerous goods and non-DG cargo under one roof in the Westport Free Zone.
Brilliant. Thanks, Lisa. I saw that this morning, and to be honest, I didn't realise that you had such a wide spectrum of services available to your clients. And I was talking to Yaya, head of customer service, and she was telling me about the fact that you're also doing work with clients just under normal 3PL conditions. Yves, I just wanted to throw back to you. You talk to us a little bit about the positioning of the warehouse here in such a hot hub. For people who are not familiar, this is a real confliction point between a lot of the manufacturing from China, Vietnam, all the way down through Southeast Asia, off to the rest of the world. Yeah. So you've worked in the Middle East for many years. You've worked in Europe. You're from Europe originally. Just how important is it, the location here?
I think the location is very important, especially if you see it as a hub location. So where we're aiming on is of course the manufacturers and the producers that because they most of the time they choose for dedicated hubs, and they have their hub locations in Asia. They have one in Europe and in the Middle East, and that's the producers and manufacturers absolutely the ones we try to aim for, because there is an easy supply chain for them. They go to one place, yeah. So I think our location there, or the Westports location, is a perfect location for that. And re-export from that location to the rest of the world, to a certain region, because most of the time they have multiple hubs from where they're serving. So I think absolutely in Southeast Asia, if you see the location between the Middle East, Europe, and the Far East, I think it's absolutely in the center. Yeah, what makes it the perfect location.
Brilliant. Okay, and I think that became very obvious when I was down at the wharf itself this morning, and I wasn't too far wrong, was I, Jamil? I reckon I thought that was probably the longest wharf that I'd ever seen, or the waterfront that I'd ever seen, and here's he telling us it's the longest linear port in the world. So I'm very confident in my own abilities now to talk about this maritime stuff. So yesterday, Jamil, you were speaking. You're on a VIP expert panel at the Logisim conference over at MyTech at the Expo Centre. And I recall you mentioning about the fact of the general state of professionalism or standards of quality and security and safety in the industry in general in this part of the world, and that being one of the reasons why TALKE decided to get into the game in this part of the world.
Yeah, I think very much it was the next step in our evolution of bringing high class, high standard chemical logistics into Southeast Asia. I mean, I am very confident that there is nothing like what we're doing in Malaysia in the belt of Indonesia, Thailand, Singapore, Malaysia. Our standard is actually built for tomorrow, which is a bold statement, and actually it's a bold investment too. So I think, as I was talking in the panel discussion, without stating an actual statistic, I think more than 50% of dangerous goods stored in Malaysia are kept in uncertified, illegal, technically illegal warehouses, in as much as they don't comply to the standards that are required by the authorities for DG storage. So we don't take any compromises, and we also wanted to set the standard. And we also understand that the market for tomorrow is changing, and eventually regulations and statutory authorities, they will catch up. And when they do, and they start putting out edicts and mandates and statutory requirements that are placed on operators, we will actually already be ready and available, whereas people will have to invest, and some might not even be compliant. So I think it really puts us forward. But I think at the end of the day, for us, that's nothing new. That's the lifeblood of the company. That's the standard upon which we've grown the business over the last 70 years. And one of the nicest things is that we have no issue or qualms about showcasing what we do, because it's educational and we're sharing what we're doing to the rest of the world. So, Liza, Yves, I commend them because they're always doing tours. And they're always having a group of people coming, seeing the site, understanding what chemical logistics is about. What is the science behind the handling and the storage and the management of the different classes? Honestly, even I don't understand all of them, but the fact that we have the capability, it's fully certified, it's fully authorized, and then we're able to share that and educate people and widen the understanding. It goes a long way in terms of being, as we said, socially responsible and responsible within the community. And I think that ties back to what I was saying in the panel, that we're also champion of sustainability and green initiatives. And where 10 years ago sustainability, it was a nice to have, but now it's a must-have. It's a mandatory requirement, and companies need to consider sustainability as a license to operate. And the thing is that, as I mentioned in the panel yesterday, we have a saying here in TALKE: no green, no market, and that's really the way we go. Because it's the lifeblood of the company, and I think what we do in sustainability, it speaks for itself, and it's evident when you go and walk around.
Thanks for the insights there, but it's part of your culture very, very clearly. And Lisa, you were with me and Jamil this morning down in the Kalang site, in the massive warehouse that you've got there, which I was very impressed with. I'd like to talk to you a little bit, Lisa, about, you've got quite extensive experience across 3PL contract logistics in Asia, some of the biggest brands in the world, some of the biggest tier 1 players in your past. Coming into TALKE and selling into the market or providing services into the market. What are the differences from your perspective? Is it a much more difficult sort of negotiation because of the complexity, because of the regulations, because of the safety standards and things like that under which you operate? Do you find there's much difference between normal 3PL, which you also offer? I know, and we'll talk about that in a minute.
I think here we provide solutions for our customers, but in terms of compliance, certifications, authorities, so these are things, it's not a hurdles for us, but we are compliant and we're certified to provide these kind of services for our customers. So we are all times ready.
Yeah, good. So I guess you and your team are trained extensively on the operational activities in the business as well, because it's part of your upsell, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah, no, brilliant. And Yves, from your point of view, when you came into the business, maybe 2 years or so ago, what sort of the major focus points and the vision points for you in building and driving this business in this part of the world, in Malaysia?
Well, it's as you said, the culture, of course, it's a different culture than what I was used to where I worked in. So of course we have to adapt, you have to feel, you have to sense, okay, how you proceed with that, how is your vision there, how you work with those teams, how you work with those people. That was in the beginning, it's you have to think. So because you come in as a new MD, I came in as a European or from the Middle East, you have to act on that, you have to listen to the people and what is their vision, of course. How do they see the business, yeah, and how to go with that, how to discuss things with them, and see, okay, what is the direction you want to go. I came from Dubai, so we had a similar setup there, as I said before. The way of doing business there, the vision is the same, of course, but the way of doing business is completely different in other parts of the world than in Southeast Asia. Well, was not easy, but over the time, of course, you learn to know how to act on that. You work with a team, with Lisa, because she has so much experience as a head of sales, of course. And then, okay, so what is our value proposition? Yeah. What do we bring to the market? What do we bring to our customers? To change our, okay, you have your value proposition, you don't change it that much, but what is the market doing, where we have to go? And by that, you have to change sometimes. Yeah? And I think we are pretty good in that. And with the support Jamil and Lisa and the whole team, as I said, I think for the future, I see a bright future for TALKE in Southeast Asia.
Okay, brilliant. Just want to round off with you, Yves, just as a bit of a point on, if you could share with our audience the type of industries that are served by a company like TALKE. Is it all petrochem? Is it, the EV sector of the market now? And as we talked about before with Lisa, of course, you offer general 3PL services as well. You've got plenty of space for that. But talk to us a little bit about some of the industry sectors that are best served by a company like TALKE.
I think, of course, our focus is, of course, on the chemicals and on the petrochemicals, mainly the chemicals. That's where the warehouse is built for. That's why it's a state-of-the-art warehouse to store those products or to handle those products. By over the time, I think, the chemicals, the trade flows in those chemicals are not that extremely high than normal consumer goods or conventional goods. So I think our focus changed also over the time. Mainly it was in the beginning, it was the dangerous goods and the non-dangerous chemicals. By over the time, we saw also there are also other goods what we can store. So we were looking into normal petrochemicals, other consumer goods. So, and the main focus also what came is on the battery industry, of course, because we saw the trade flows on that are very high. Yeah, a lot of volumes are going through Malaysia itself, are produced in Malaysia, are re-exported to other countries. So what we also did, we changed some items in the warehouse, where our warehouse is absolutely compliant to store batteries. What is a difficult market these days? Yeah? Because when you see to the insurers, they are not letting you store batteries in a normal conventional warehouse. And I think that's also our main focus is in that industry. So the battery industry, the raw materials for batteries, because there will be a huge increase in that market also.
Brilliant. No, that's great, Lisa. Thanks so much for that. And Lisa, Jamil, I just want to finish off with yourself and wrap on one of the most impressive things I saw this morning was the foam suppression system, which is very highly specific for the type of facility that you folks have. I've seen it in your other site in Dubai with RSA TALKE as well. I was fortunate to go to the opening of that several years ago with Abhishek Shah and the team there. Talk to us just a little bit as a snapshot of, God forbid there should ever be any sort of an incident, but should something happen in a site like this, what's the system of closing down, say, for example, a fire?
Oh, well, okay. So Yves will correct me if I'm wrong, but so what we have here is a high expansion foam fire suppression system. I don't think there's anything like it in this part of the world, in this region, Southeast Asia. Basically, we have artificial intelligence cameras and CCTV that will actually recognize a flame. So if there's a fire, if there's a flame, they actually have flame recognition. As soon as it recognizes a flame, it will activate the sounding alarm. And that is basically evacuate. But we need to get out of the chamber immediately. All of our chambers have high-speed doors that are operated by sensor. So to migrate from one chamber to the other, we just have to walk up to the door. We have a high-speed door. It lifts very quickly, so there's no issue in terms of access. All of the chambers have, as I call, Union Jack fire exits. So there's one at each corner of the chamber. And basically, once the CCTV, once the camera recognizes the flame, sounds the alarm, we exit, and it immediately activates the expansion foam, and it will fill up a chamber within a couple of minutes. I mean, within 30 seconds, I think it will be about 3 meters high. Is that correct, Yves?
Correct.
So within 30 seconds, the foam will be 3 meters high. So if there's a ground level fire, that's immediately put out, and if it continues to the upper levels, I mean, the whole chamber can be full within about 2 minutes, and that's immediately just putting the fire out. So it's very fast and very effective. And then the other thing as well, most importantly, it's not like we have sprinklers or water sprinkler system. It doesn't damage the product, so the foam can be pushed away, cleaned out, it dries out, it doesn't immediately damage the product.
Amazing.
Like if you had a water system, it would just douse everything, whether it be batteries or product.
Okay, brilliant. So Yves, you got what looks like about 50 jet engines in the roof of your site. It was quite amazing. And I mean, the height. What's the height of that building, by the way? It looks like it's about 100 feet tall.
The height is 15 meters.
Okay, all right.
15 meters high, yeah.
50.
No, 15 meters. So in feet,
okay,
it's 50.
right.
Yeah, 50 feet. As you said. 50
Okay,
feet. Yeah. Okay.
Cool. And these what looks like jet engines. These are the things that throw out all the foam, and if there's an incident, and we'll just cover an entire chamber, which is quite a large area. Okay, brilliant.
I think it's also important to say, you saw that it's a massive warehouse, of course, for dangerous goods, but it's also important to say that each chamber is actually a standalone chamber, yes. Because each chamber has his own steel structure, and there is a wall in between that goes through the roof. So the warehouse is specifically built once there is an incident in one chamber, for example, a fire, it can't go over to the next chamber. So the next chambers are always free of the incident.
Brilliant. So, Lisa, I'm just going to wrap with you very quickly, and I'm going to come back to the fact that you folks are offering general 3PL, the chambers that Yves is talking about there. You've got completely separate, and some have got nothing to do with chemical logistics at all or dangerous goods, and you've got a whole range of general third-party logistics storage in there, which is great.
Yes, all our storage, we go by the DG segregation plans.
Brilliant. Yeah, so everything's segregated from everything else. Look, really interesting. I was particularly impressed with the safety briefing this morning. I couldn't go anywhere near there and get my helmet on until I'd completely passed the test. So congratulations for that. But I guess we'd expect that in such a high professional level of facility. Lisa, Mah, Yves Bekkers, and my co-host Jamil, Siddique, thank you so much for joining us today. It's a real pleasure to have a panel, and I think we'll be doing this again on the journey through chemical logistics around the world. And
pleasure.
Yeah, it's good to see you all. So thank you so much for your time, and we look forward to catching up with you all again soon.